INEC fixes April 15th to conduct supplementary governorship elections in Kebbi and Adamawa State, as well as assembly polls. Benue State High Court grants interim order restraining Iyorchia Ayu from parading himself as national chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). Police arrest 781 offenders for violation of electoral laws during 2023 general elections. And on the foreign scene, mass protests and widespread strikes takes place across Israel over controversial judicial reforms. Good evening. This is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. My name is Tunde Ido. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has fixed April 15th for the conduct of supplementary governorship elections in Kebbi and Adamawa State. INEC had declared the governorship elections of March 18th in both states as inconclusive. In a statement posted on Twitter, the commission said supplementary polls for national and state assembly elections will also take place on April 15th. The Electoral Commission said a detailed official statement will be released regarding the supplementary elections. Before the election was declared inconclusive in Adamawa, Amadu Fintiri, the incumbent governor and candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), had won 13 local governments, while Aisha Binani, gubernatorial candidate of the All Progressive Congress (APC), had secured victory in 7. In Kebbi, the poll was declared inconclusive because of massive vote cancellation and overvoting in 20 of the 21 local governments in the state. A group known as the Natives says no mandate was stolen and the president-elect Bola Tinubu won the presidential election. Speaking with reporters in Abuja today before the march to the headquarters of the Independent Electoral Commission (INEC), leader of the group, Smart Edwards, said Nigerians must not allow a repeat of the June 12 experience. Mr. Edwards said it was wrong for vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Daiti Baba Ahmed, to assert that the country does not have a president-elect. He called on everyone to allow peace to reign and be patriotic.
Give Nigeria a chance to grow. Yes. Natives of Nigeria, yes, of all tribes and of all race, of all brotherhood and of all concerns, and I'm appealing in the name of Almighty God, Jesus Christ our Savior. Also, I appeal in the name of Allah to all Nigerians to give peace a chance. We cannot continue to be protesting on the street.
A high court in Benue State has granted an interim order restraining Iyorchia Ayu from parading himself as the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). Justice W.I. Pochi gave the order today while ruling on a motion ex parte filed by Conrad Tahide Uten. The case has been adjourned to April 17th for hearing. It comes after executive members of Igorov Ward, Boko local government area of Benue State passed a vote of no confidence on Senator Ayu over alleged anti-party activities. Earlier, Simon Imobo Uswan, the media advisor to national chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Iyorchia Ayu, says his principal cannot be suspended by his word. Yesterday, executive members of Igorov Ward, Boko local government area of Benue State passed a vote of no confidence on Senator Ayu over alleged anti-party activities. The party executives claimed that he worked against the success of the PDP in his ward and did not vote in the March 18th governorship and House of Assembly election. Reacting to the suspension in a statement today, Mr. Imobo Uswan said only the National Executive Committee, which is the highest decision-making organ of the party, can suspend a national chairman. He alleged that those whose names appeared on the suspension letter either had their signatures forged or were coerced to sign. The Nigerian police force arrested 781 offenders for violation of electoral laws during the 2023 general election. Inspector General of Police Usman Baba said this at a meeting with commissioners of police and senior officers to evaluate their performance during the 2023 elections. Mr. Baba said 185 cases of electoral infractions were recorded during the presidential election, with 203 arrests made. For the governorship and state assembly elections, it stated that 304 electoral breaches were recorded and 578 offenders were arrested. He commended the senior police officers and commanders and other ranks for their resilience, sacrifice, and professionalism.
Of political persuasion, background, or influence should place his or her personal interests above national interests. Accordingly, while admonishing all political actors and their followers to submit to democratic norms, peaceful means, and legal procedure in advancing their interests or seeking redress for their political concerns, I must firmly warn that the Nigeria Police and other security agencies shall not tolerate the resort to incitement or any act designed to threaten our national security. They are therefore advised in the strongest possible terms to henceforth draw back on current attempts to engender tension within the national security space to avoid attracting appropriate law enforcement response. In regard to this, feedbacks so far received across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT indicates that a total of 489 major electoral infractions leading to the arrest of a total of 781 offenders were recorded nationally, both during the presidential and the National Assembly elections and the governorship and the State House of Assembly elections. While not less than 66 firearms of various descriptions were recovered from electoral adversaries.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has urged Nigerians to hold politicians accountable. He spoke today at an event in Obio Akpo local government area of the state. According to him, Nigerians should not entertain excuses from politicians who have failed to fulfill their promises.
Today we are here to also fulfill the promise we have made. I have told people who care, and I want Nigerians to know, the electors to know, that time has come when you must hold public officers accountable. Whatever promise you have made to people, make sure you fulfill those promises. Let nobody come again to begin to tell you stories. And when they tell you stories, they will not fulfill the promises. And then you will still give them the ears to listen to them. If you begin to do this, you will see that politicians will sit up. And they know that when they make promise, they must fulfill that promise. But when they make promise, they don't fulfill the promise. They still call you and begin to talk to you. And you sit down, waste your hours, waste your time to listen to them. So try and hold us accountable for every promise we have made. And that is why I find it difficult to hear people say that any party will win us in this state. I find it very difficult. Is it possible? No, let us tell ourselves the simple truth. Let's leave politics. How can you say a government, a party that has fulfilled its promises to our people, to its citizens, and you see people coming to make promise that you don't know whether they will fulfill tomorrow. Even when they were here, they refused to fulfill it. Somebody said he did five flyovers. And I asked them, can he name the 5 flyovers? Name them. And who are the contractors who did that 5 flyovers? In 8 years, I came from 2019 to now. I've done 12 flyovers.
Meanwhile, Governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, has asked President-elect Bola Tinubu to include Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, in his administration. Governor Umahi said Governor Wike, a member of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has a lot to offer Senator Tinubu, who contested the presidential election on the All Progressive Congress APC platform. The Ebonyi governor spoke today at an event hosted by Governor Wike in Obio Akpo local government area of Rivers. Governor Umahi said there is no way the story of the 2023 general election can be told without mentioning Governor Wike. Senator Tinubu polled 231,591 votes in Rivers State to defeat PDP standard-bearer Atiku Abubakar and flag-bearer of the Labour Party Peter Obi in the presidential election. While Mr. Obi polled 175,071 votes, Mr. Atiku scored 88,000 468 votes.
That is joke taken too far. And I'm very bold to say that. Just like what he has done here, what the modest achievement we did in Ebonyi, and you say that you can win me in Ebonyi. It's a joke taken so far. Our people want performance. If you have performed as a governor, they will stand with you. But I also thank God Almighty who had earmarked that, Asiwaju and Shettima would win. And look at the process of God. Asiwaju was very courageous and Shettima and made themselves available. God directly and indirectly made Governor Wike very much available. And so there is no way PC can conclude about the success of the election without mentioning Governor Wike. And they will be asking, Asiwaju Shettima to please bring Governor Wike to the core administration of the federal government. He has a lot to offer. He has a lot to offer for the unity of the country. And it's not all about party now. It's about the unity of the country. It's about how to move this country forward. It's about how to reunite our people. And I'm very happy that Asiwaju is thinking in this direction. And I want to thank him. So thanking him for making himself available. A man was expecting to win jackpot in America, but bought no coupon. And one day he was praying. God said to him, do me a favor and go and buy a coupon. So Asiwaju and Shettima, they bought coupon and they made themselves available. And I thank Mr. President Buhari, who insisted that he had no candidate and that whoever would win in our primary should. And that gave Asiwaju the lead. And I also thank the Northern.
And here in Osun State, civil servants trooped out in their large numbers today to welcome the state governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, following his victory at the Court of Appeal, Abuja, on Friday. Amidst joy and gladness, as well as drumming and chanting songs of thanks and victory, the civil servants could not hide their joy when the governor arrived at the state secretariat at Abiri. Olayinka Ali was there and now completes the report.
This morning, the entire workforce of the Osun State civil servant trooped out in large numbers amidst joy and gladness to welcome the state governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, on his victory at the Court of Appeal, Abuja, on Friday. Amidst drumming and chanting songs of thanks and victory, the civil servant could not hide their joy when the governor arrived at the state secretariat at Abiri. The governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, expressed his appreciation to the civil servant and all the good people of Osun State, while also assuring them of good governance and dividend of democracy.
I promise you, we still have a lot of something is tough for you. And I will not disappoint you. I love you for what you have done today.
Chairman, Nigeria Civil Service Union, Osun State Chapter, Christopher Arakpashukwu, stated that the gathering was organized by the civil servant to thank God Almighty for the victory recorded at the appeal court.
Well, let me start by appreciating God Almighty first. He is the one who has kept every one of us alive today. Yeah, what you just saw is a result of the outcome and the victory recorded at the appeal court, which Mr. Governor, Senator Ademola Nuruddin Jackson Adeleke recorded. And this was, let me say, is organized by the Osun State workers working here at Abiri to, appreciate God Almighty for the victory recorded at the appeal court.
Mr. Arakpashukwu thereafter urged the entire workforce to support the administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke.
And I want to put this straight, that this man is doing good. This man is doing great. This man has supported workers of Osun. And in less than 4 months that he came on board, workers, the atmosphere is clear. Workers are smiling. Backlogs of salaries, arrears are being paid by this current government. Salary as and when due are paid. regular payment of pensions are well paid. What do you expect from this man? What do you expect? Even God Almighty says, appreciate me, then I will do more. It is when you appreciate people, then that means you are telling them you are requesting and demanding for more. We doing this, no one is forced to do this. You can see smile on the faces of workers of Osun. We want to make ourselves happy, and there's a force to appreciate this man.
Similarly, the Chairman Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria and Chairman Trade Union Congress Osun State Chapter, Mr. Adekola Adebowale, thanked the Almighty that the Court of Appeal validated the election of Governor Adeleke and disclosed that the governor is loved by all the civil servants because of his good deeds.
This morning actually is an impromptu arrangement. We just want to thank God on behalf of Mr. Governor. Mr. Governor was charged with some issues on the tribunal during the last election, July 16 election. The first tribunal, he didn't get it right, but we are all free for him that this gentleman that everybody, including majorly the civil servants, we appreciate that we cannot afford to miss him. And we are thanking God this morning that the appeal court of the land validates his election and return him. And then we are thanking God for his behalf because we have been so nice, good, and wonderful to the generality of the Osun State, most especially the workers.
The Court of Appeal had on Friday upheld the election of Senator Ademola Adeleke as the governor of Osun State. Olayinka Ali, Rave FM News.
In other news, a Nigerian journalist on trial for treason, Agba Jalingo, has been remanded in Kuje prison from today till Thursday. A judge in the Federal High Court in Abuja, Justice Zainab Bage Abubakar, remanded the journalist in Kuje prison for cybercrime. Justice Abubakar allegedly denied Mr. Jalingo's lawyers the opportunity to move a motion for bail after he was arraigned for cyber stalking. He was accused of defaming Elizabeth Ayade, the wife of Frank Ayade, who is a brother of Cross River State Governor Ben Ayade. Mr. Jalingo, the publisher of Cross River Watch, was arrested on August 22, 2019 over a report alleging that Cross River State Governor Ben Ayade diverted 500 million naira belonging to the state. The Seychelles Supreme Court has remanded a Nigerian woman on conspiracy to import and traffic an illicit drug. According to the Seychelles news agency, the 52-year-old woman is being detained after she was arrested at the Seychelles International Airport on Thursday after her arrival on an Ethiopian airline flight. The arrest of the woman comes from a search discovery and seizure of 250 grams of what is suspected to be cocaine. Seychelles has a zero-tolerance policy towards the trafficking and importation of illegal drugs. There is a maximum sentence of life in prison if found guilty. You're watching News at 7 on Western Spring Television. Still to come. Mass protests and widespread strikes are taking place across Israel over controversial judicial reforms. We'll bring you more on this when we return. Please stay with us.
Damosi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held aloft the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkele Mens was a natively corrupted version of peculiar mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history. The name Adolf Hitler exudes a gale of bile from millions of people who were victims of his autocratic rule and love, from fanatical supporters of his imperial aggression. Born April 20, 1889, at a small Austrian town sandwiched between Austro-German frontier, Adolf Hitler spent most of his childhood in Linz, the capital of Upper Austria. As a very prominent stakeholder in the horrific events of conflicts in Europe, Adolf Hitler could simply go off as the sole mover of the Second World War. 40 million Jews were murdered in the gas chambers of various Nazi camps on the orders of Adolf Hitler. Thousands of Adolf Hitlers still live in Germany today, but the majority of them are elderly and were named before the end of the Second World War. As the name pales into vanishing rarity, 13 children, according to official records, were named Adolf Hitler between 2006 and 2013. Western Spring Television identifies Adolf Hitler as a major character in history. Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness and participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back. This is still news at 7 on Western Spring Television. A reminder of our headlines. INEC fixes April 15th to conduct supplementary governorship elections in Kebbi and Adamawa State, as well as assembly polls. Benue State High Court grants interim order restraining Iyocha Ayu from parading himself as national chairman of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). Police arrest 781 offenders for violation of electoral laws during 2023 general election. And on the foreign scene, mass protests and widespread strikes takes place across Israel over controversial judicial reforms. The Osun State chapter of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) says it has not begun plans to zone principal offices in the 8th Assembly to any of the 25-member-elect on the platform of the party. This is coming amidst reports that the lawmakers-elect have started making moves to grab the principal office and committee positions available. Emmanuel Ujwadugele has the rest of the story.
As it is at the National Assembly, the lobbying has commenced in Osun State as members-elect of the 8th Assembly have begun making moves to pick up positions. Apart from heading committees, some of which are set to be juicy, there are principal offices such as Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Majority Leader, Deputy Majority Leader, Chief Whip, and Deputy Chief Whip all for grabs. Other offices are Central Senatorial Whip, East Senatorial Whip, West Senatorial Whip, and Minority Leader. There will be no Deputy Minority Leader in the 8th Assembly as currently constituted because there's only one member of the opposition party, with the People's Democratic Party PDP having a majority of 25. A senior special assistant to Governor Ademola Adeleke and media director of the PDP in Osun, Oladele Bamiji, acknowledges reports that lobbying has begun for these positions. He is, however, quick to clarify that these permutations are not statutory but are mere party conventions.
Sharing of positions, zoning or what have you, are mere conventions. They are not basically in tandem with the letters of the Constitution of Nigeria. They are mere political conventions to be at peace with everybody, to aggregate such positions in order to engender perhaps fairness and equity.
Mr. Bamiji notes that the party is not in a hurry to apportion offices. According to him, after sorting out intra-party affairs as regards leadership, the party would then begin to consider the principal positions in the House of Assembly.
In a short while, we also have a very major exercise on our hands, which is to put in place a proper structure, a substantive structure of our party in place. So after that might have been done, then we now begin to sit properly and look at how these positions will be shared, especially as it concerns the House of Assembly seats. Yes. It is clear we are going to have the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and other principal offices. But as a party of equity, part of which has brought us to this limelight, to what we have today, I'm very sure our party will sit and just do justice, proper justice, to how these positions will be tabled and shared across the zones of the state.
The PDP spokesman also says his party will not be compensating anyone with positions, but will allot same based on merit.
Taking some cogent reasons into consideration, principle of which is perhaps experience, perhaps loyalty to the party, past records. In this part of the world, people tend to scrutinize your records, where you are coming from, how loyal have you been, what have been your strength, what have been your record, your track record in the affairs of the party, or your acceptability rate, even amongst your peers.
This seat, marked number 2, belongs to the Deputy Speaker of the Osun House of Assembly. But this other seat over here belongs to the Speaker of the House of Assembly. When the 7th Assembly, currently headed by Timothy Oweye from Elisha East constituency, packs up its load, the 8th Assembly will be inaugurated. These 2 seats, alongside other principal offices, will be up for grabs in the 8th Assembly. It remains to be seen how the PDP would distribute these offices and who gets what in the coming assembly. Emmanuel Ujadugele, Western Spring Television News.
The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has ordered the interim forfeiture of 7 properties, 3 vehicles, and $50,000 cash seized from the National President of the Maize Growers, Processors, and Marketers Association of Nigeria, Professor Uche Chigozie Edwin. Justice Tijani Rigim made the order following an application filed and argued by counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Rotimi Oyedepo. In his ex parte application before the court, Mr. Rotimi told the judge that the EFCC traced the properties to Professor Edwin and that it reasonably suspected that the defendant acquired them with the proceeds of an unlawful activity. The EFCC counsel also sought an order of the court directing the publication of the interim forfeiture in any widely circulated national newspaper to enable any interested party appear before the judge to show cause within 14 days, while the final forfeiture order of the properties should not be made in favor of the federal government. The Department of State Services, DSS, has arrested a retired soldier and 5 other suspected criminals operating along the Lokoja-Abuja highway. In a statement, DSS spokesperson Peter Afunaya said the suspected criminals were apprehended on March 26. The DSS, in collaboration with sister agencies, also arrested a 20-year-old suspected kidnapper identified as Haruna Adamu in Adamawa. Mr. Afunaya said a suspected gun runner was apprehended in Abuja while traveling from Nasarawa to deliver arms to bandits in Niger State. The DSS spokesperson said all the suspects are in custody and will be subsequently prosecuted. And on the foreign scene, mass protests and widespread strikes are taking place across Israel over controversial judicial reforms. Departure flights from Israel's main airport have been suspended, and there have been widespread walkouts in many industries. The changes to the justice system have provoked an outpouring of anger from nearly all parts of Israel's society, including its powerful military. Meanwhile, in Africa, one person has been shot dead in Kenya's western city of Kisumu as demonstrators turned out to protest against the high cost of living. There have also been clashes between protesters and the police in informal settlements in Nairobi. Earlier, hundreds of people stormed former President Uhuru Kenyatta's farm on the outskirts of Kenya's capital, Nairobi. They cut down trees using power saws, stole livestock, and set the farm on fire. The government has deployed security forces to quell the demonstrations called by opposition leader Raila Odinga, but this has only served to further inflame tensions. The Interior Ministry and Inspector of Police have termed the protest illegal. President William Ruto is currently on an official visit to Belgium and Germany. I'll bring you back that story in reference to Israel. Mass protests and widespread strikes are taking place across Israel over controversial judicial reforms. Departure flights from Israel's main airport have been suspended, and there have been widespread walkouts in many industries. The changes to the justice system have provoked an outpouring of anger from nearly all parts of Israeli society, including its powerful military.
President Herzog has called for PM Netanyahu to back down after a night of protests against his judicial change plan and the sacking of the defense minister. The appeal on Monday by the head of state, who normally does not get involved in politics, underlines the alarm that the proposals have caused and comes after a dramatic night of protests across Israel. The unrest deepened the month-long crisis over Netanyahu's plan to overhaul the judiciary in such a way that would give the government decisive control over the committee which appoints judges. They would also make it harder for courts to remove a leader deemed unfit for office, which has angered many who consider it in the interests of the incumbent, Benjamin Netanyahu, who faces an ongoing trial for corruption. This has sparked mass protests, alarmed business leaders, and the former security chief chiefs and drawn concern for the United States and other close allies. The U.S. National Security Council issued a statement expressing concern over the events in Israel and their possible impact on the combat readiness of the Israeli army. Netanyahu's dismissal of Defense Minister Yoav Gallant signaled that the Prime Minister and his allies will borrow ahead this week with the overhaul plan. Gallant had been the first senior member of the ruling Likud party to speak out against it, saying the deep divisions were threatening to weaken the military.
He said, quote, "The growing rift in our society is penetrating the Israel Defense Forces and security agencies. This poses a clear, immediate, and tangible threat to the security of the state. I will not allow this."
Netanyahu made the decision to sack Gallant after the former Navy admiral warned on Saturday that the overhaul plans risked a clear, immediate, and tangible threat to the security of the state and called for them to be halted. However, Netanyahu's office did not name a replacement nor give any other details. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has decided this evening to dismiss Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, it said. Israeli media outlets are now reporting that Netanyahu is expected to announce a pause to his judicial overhaul plan, despite calls from some of his ministers, such as the far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, for him to not back down. But the pressure on Netanyahu is mounting, with the country's main labor union announcing a general strike and calling for the Prime Minister to withdraw his plan. Tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets and cities across Israel in a spontaneous outburst of anger on Sunday after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu abruptly fired his defense minister for challenging his judicial overhaul plan. Protesters in Tel Aviv, many wearing blue and white Israeli flags, blocked a main highway late on Sunday and lit large bonfires, while police scuffled with protesters who gathered outside Netanyahu's private home in Jerusalem. Opposition leaders Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz issued a joint statement condemning Netanyahu's moves, saying state security cannot be a card in the political game. Netanyahu crossed the red line tonight, they said, and called on the Likud party not to have a hand in the crushing of national security. Ofer Kasiv, an Israeli politician and Knesset member of the leftish Hadash party, has said what the government wants to do is not to correct or amend the judicial system so that it will be more just, but the exact opposite. Temi Tokpe, Ajijola Oluwaula, Western Spring Television.
At least 16 people have died in a landslide that buried entire families under mud and rubble in a mountain village in Ecuador. Firefighters, police, and specialized rescue teams have been dispatched to the canton of Alauce in the Andes mountain to search for trapped residents. 6 people have been pulled alive from the mud, but the government said at least 7 were still missing. More than a dozen have been injured. Scotland's governing party has elected Humza Yousaf as its new leader after a bruising 5-week contest that exposed deep fracture within the pro-independence movement. Mr. Yousaf will lead the Scottish National Party as the 6th First Minister, succeeding Nicola Sturgeon, who unexpectedly stepped down last month after 8 years as leader of the party. The 37-year-old Scot of Pakistani heritage, in his acceptance speech, said he was honored to have been entrusted with the leadership role. He was recently the health secretary in charge of the crisis-hit National Health Service during the coronavirus pandemic.
Can I begin by thanking our National Secretary, Lorna Finn, and also can I thank our headquarters staff for all the incredible efforts that they have made right throughout this process. It is hard for me to find the words to describe just how honoured I am to be entrusted by our membership of the SNP to be the party's next leader and to be on the cusp of being our country's next First Minister. Can I begin by paying tribute to my colleagues, both Kate and Ash. During almost 20 hustings, it's probably felt like we've seen each other more than we have our respective families. You both have put in an incredible shift, and I know that collectively we will continue to work hard as part of Team SNP. I am not just humbled of that, I most certainly am. I also feel like the luckiest man in the world to be standing here as the leader of the SNP, a party I joined almost 20 years ago and that I love so dearly.
And still ahead, Elon Musk puts the current value of Twitter at $20 billion, less than half the $44 billion he paid for the social media platform just 5 months ago. We have more on this and other business stories after this break. Please stay with us.
The 1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ab initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups and the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Springer Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker, and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history.
You're welcome back. Now to business stories. In furtherance of Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke's digital economy agenda, the state government yesterday established a support desk for tech innovators to assess the $618 million fund from the Africa Development Bank. The state government says the support desk is targeted at creating an ecosystem for tech to thrive in Osun State. Toby Sanusi has the rest of the story.
Late last year, President of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Akinkunmi Adesina, revealed that the AFDB, the Islamic Development Bank, and the French Development Agency are investing $618 million in the Digital and Creative Enterprise Program in Nigeria. The $618 million fund is earmarked to help creative startups, digital technology enterprises, create 6.1 million jobs and add $6.4 billion to the economy. In a bid to harness these opportunities, the Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke on Sunday directed the establishment of a support desk for tech innovators and entrepreneurs in Osun State to access the $680 million AFDB fund. This support desk will ensure that tech innovators and entrepreneurs in the state are set on a digital pedestal that will in turn boost their businesses and set Osun on the front line in digital economy. This is according to the spokesman of Governor Adeleke, Olawale Rashid, who spoke on the nitty-gritty of the innovation, maintaining that the innovation will reduce unemployment in the state.
He has created an ecosystem to support tech entrepreneurs in Osun. Now, AFDB, under Dr. Adesina, just launched a tech fund project for Nigeria, fund system for Nigeria. And His Excellency thought we have to help our people by mobilizing tech entrepreneurs and innovators in the state for them to access this loan. He's also trying to reach out to Dr. Adesina directly so that Osun can have its own team and nominees who would like to go in, access the fund. And I think that is the right thing to do. What the desk will do is to ensure that they help them to meet up with the demand for accessing the, for example, if you have product innovations that you want to push forward, the ministry will help our tech innovator to polish it. If you have tech ideas that you think you can push forward to access the fund, then the ministry, the desk, will help you to straighten it up.
While some are of the opinion that tech is yet to find a level playing field in Osun State, some tech experts like Adeboale Olabinton and Shegun Solomon believe the fund will help tech innovation thrive in the state and discover more startup tech entrepreneurs who struggle for funds.
Yes, it will help boost our business in the sense that projects that belong to the state that was supposed to be given to some other companies outside the state will no longer be going outside the state, and it will be done within the state. Well, tech has been thriving in Osun State for the past 15 to 20 years. Just that we don't get sponsorship like the one the government is trying to do now.
Where Osun State was 2 years ago in technology is not where they are today. At least we are doing quite a lot in the state, and at least we are getting, little results, even if it's not as massive as we might want it. And then talking about the fact that Osun is tagged a civil society, a civil servant state. Yeah, Osun may be, but we so much believe, personally, I so much believe in the fact that Osun State can be liberated, because now I use the word liberated because if Osun continues to be and dependent on civil servants alone, then the future is not bright.
For Elijah Odefemi, a startup developer who expressed optimism about the innovation, accessing the fund will enable him get the requisite equipment needed for his setup, as this will bridge the gap of trust deficit from potential customers.
Number one, it takes a conducive environment is very important for someone to be able to think positively. And in access to such funds, it will help in that area to create a cool area place for someone to be able to start from there, and also to be able to impact to people behind. Because when there is no place for me to teach or to instruct the people, and how can I impact to them, and how can we impact to society? That is number one. Number two, none of this organization can come to me as individual without having a set-up place. Like me, I might say, okay, I didn't have any office. I'm just a financer. And how I want a company to access me. They firstly look at me. There is no way for them to get me or to access me if anything went wrong at the long run. So it will look like somehow it will be odd to them. But when I have an establishment, when I have some office, and the office, everybody know me with the office, so they can come in oh, we are looking for Mr. Lagbaja, okay, this and that, this is what we have for you, and this and that.
According to the governor's spokesman, the support desk for tech innovators is in furtherance of the digital economy agenda of Governor Adelike's administration. For Western Spring Television, Toby Sanusi reporting.
Elon Musk has put the current value of Twitter at $20 billion, less than half the $44 billion he paid for the social media platform just 5 months ago. This is according to an internal email seen by American news media. The email to employees referred to a new stock compensation program in the San Francisco-based company and the allocation of shares to employees of X Holdings, Twitter's umbrella company, since Mr. Musk purchased it in late October. Mr. Musk, who is also the chief executive of Tesla and SpaceX, said Twitter would allow its employees to cash in shares every 6 months. Since taking control, he has sharply cut the group's payroll from 7,500 employees to fewer than 2,000. He said in the email that he sees a clear but difficult path to a valuation of $250 billion without specifying how long that might take. And the exciting world of sports, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have won the return leg of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Guinea-Bissau at their home ground. Nigeria scored 30 minutes into the game with a penalty by Moses Simon to go top of the table in Group A with 9 points. The Eagles last Friday lost the first leg of the match at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja, which saw them slide to second place with the Wild Dogs claiming the top spot. However, Guinea-Bissau, after their loss, now sits in second place with 7 points, while Cameroon are third with 5 points and Sao Tome sits in fourth place. Rivers United manager Stanley Eguma has admitted his side suffered fatigue from their congested fixtures, which contributed to their 1-1 draw against Abia Warriors. Weke Kalu gave the visitors the lead just after the restart of the second half at Adokia Masimaka Stadium. Maurice Chukwu equalized from the spot late on in the game, and Rivers United technical manager Stanley Eguma admitted fatigue was a factor for the Nigeria Premier Football League result. According to him, his side played 3 matches in this last 7 days. And in England, Fulham manager Marco Silva has been charged with misconduct for comments he made following his side's FA Cup defeat at Manchester United. Silva was sent off during the game amidst a 72nd-minute incident that resulted in United being awarded a penalty by referee Chris Kavanagh. The Football Association alleges that Silva's post-match comments constitute improper conduct as they imply bias or question the integrity of the match official. Silva has until Wednesday to provide a response to the charge. The charge is in addition to the Fulham boss having already been charged with abusive behavior toward match officials during the 3-1 quarter-final defeat at Old Trafford. Silva is also facing an improper conduct charge for allegedly throwing a water bottle in the direction of the assistant referee. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, here is a recap of our major stories. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has fixed April 15th for the conduct of supplementary governorship elections in Kebbi State and Adamawa State. A high court in Benue State has charged an interim order restraining Iyocha Ayu from parading himself as the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The Nigerian police force arrested 781 offenders for violation of electoral laws during the 2023 general elections. And on the foreign scene, we told you that mass protests and widespread strikes are taking place across Israel over controversial judicial reforms. Please do follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. I am Tunde Ido. Good evening.
jáde mọ̀rìnwó la kọ́kọ́ rí owó gẹ́gẹ́ ní